Hey everybody, it's Michael, and before we start this week's episode, I have some Patreon shout-outs. These are the fine folks who have contributed to our Patreon campaign, BCC The Other Side, where for just $5 a month, you get an access to an entire dimension of reward episodes every month. So, I'm going to thank Rachel Bussart, Sandra Falk, Tom Malpass, 90 Day Bay, thanks Marcy, Jennifer E. Edelson, Cheryl Oski doubled her pledge. That's crazy, and thank you so much. Bob No, thank you. Peter Ambrose, Abby West, Amanda Benitez. Amanda Benitez, thank you. Andrew Fladbow. I need glasses. I need reading glasses now. I have to zoom into this stuff. I'm not that bad at pronouncing names. I mean, we know that I am, but... Tori Renee, thank you. Gregory Allen Smith with a generous pledge. Thank you so much. Kenneth Milam, another generous donation. Thank you. Rebecca Day, thanks. Jason Fitchko, Sasha Ross, Ali Moreno, Ty Morris, Danny Addis, and Brendan Kirk. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. We couldn't do the show without you. Mwah! Kisses to all of you. And now it is time for the show.
It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
I'm in a singing mood today. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend's been canceled too long. Now I don't get to sing anymore. I just sing to myself.
You can sing, man. Just
Sad
sing.
little man in his own apartment, sitting all alone, looking for a ghost.
That's a hit.
That's good.
Hold on.
Hey, everybody.
Stop everything. Change gears.
He's the loneliest ghost hunter. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm saying it's great right off the bat. This is the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. Not with us this week, Mr. Bryce Johnson. You know why? Because he's working on that top secret project that we've been teasing for 6 months now.
I thought it was going to be a quicker tease, honestly.
My gosh.
Really building it up.
He is also not budging. He won't talk about it at all.
Nope.
I mean, all due respect. Hey, that voice you're hearing, that smooth caramel,
That's
that
right.
is our super producer.
Riley Bray. Hey,
And,
everybody.
Yeah, what's going on, baby?
Not much. It's been a fun, weird day of
You had someone
jumping
from
one.
Cinderella in your house today?
Yeah, the 80s band.
Yeah.
The lead singer and guitar player, songwriter.
Badass, dude.
It was pretty cool. One of my other jobs is filming interviews and documentaries. So we were filming an interview with him, and it was awesome. He's an amazing guy.
Are you doing sound on that stuff, or are you filming?
I also do sound, but I'm a camera operator.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You're
I love
a cool
the technical
dude.
toys, you know?
Is that the guy who came in here and threw these guitars all over our clubhouse?
No, that would be Spindrift, who is on a really intense album deadline
These
right now.
psychedelic cowboys need to take a minute to clean up after themselves.
But that actually was it being cleaned up. You should have seen it
boy.
at about 4:30 a.m. today.
I've been in here after some of those nights. I don't want to know what goes on. I see the trace evidence. Everybody, we have
Rock and roll, baby.
amazing show for you today. Because guess what? We're listening to your stories. That's
Yes.
right. And to do that and to give feedback and provide a little Q&A session for you listeners out there, we have two awesome guests. They've been on the show before. One is an intuitive and medium, and the other is a practicing witch doctor. Together, they co-host the podcast, The Witch and the Medium, which you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, Adela Lavine and Mystic Dylan.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm in real carnival barker mode this week.
I'm into it.
It's
Keep it
because I
going.
just had 3 sips of a Arnold Palmer, and apparently
did it?
gets me
Wow.
lit.
And you're like a hummingbird. You just get that
My
little
new
bit of
drink.
sugar.
It's nice.
Is it?
Guys, how's the podcast going? For our listeners who have not checked it out yet, tell us what The Witch in the Medium is about.
What's the story about a witch?
A medium.
There we go.
Now, which is which? Which is the witch?
So, surprisingly, people would probably assume the female is the witch, but it's actually Dylan.
Don't be so gender biased, nerds.
Sorry, but people actually seem to be surprised that it's Dylan and not me. So that's what we get the feedback on. But Dylan is the witch, and I am the medium. So we knew each other before and reconnected, and we would have these conversations and kind of found that even though we approach things differently, right? And
It worked.
It works because he's a little more earth-based and with the earth, and I'm kind of more into quantum and just directly going into energy. And
She just
things.
described you as the boring one.
I did not describe.
I'm very vanilla.
You're like,
I mean, the guy has 4 snakes and, throws bones. I mean, I always kind of think it's the opposite.
Like-
He's way more aesthetically pleasing.
like if we were colors, he would be eggshell white, and I'd be the infrared
Purple
spectrum.
and black.
Absolutely. No, but it's so funny because we always, the way that it started, because it's not like, let's do a podcast. It was more, we would have these conversations.
Discussions, yeah.
We would have these discussions and everything, we always met in the middle. And like in our practice and everything we do, somehow we each would have this weird take on it.
I think more importantly, we're also both very grounded. Like we both don't take ourselves so seriously, and it's hard to find that and to have someone who's just
especially in this community.
Oh,
in our world.
Yeah.
Believe me, some of those people have been tweeting at us.
Oh,
And we
welcome.
love them. We love them. We love that they
Welcome.
listen
Yeah.
to the show. But, sometimes they
Yep.
take their free entertainment
Next
very
level.
serious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that for us, like we obviously have our rules and we have our craft and the way that we work it. But it's interesting. So when we started the podcast, I was not expecting. I thought, well, also it's interesting when we disagree on things.
Yeah.
We were not expecting that.
We were. Yeah, we did.
Any disagreement whatsoever?
Like
People seem to like the disagreement. Oddly, but I think that in the end of the day, we definitely
Come
kind
back.
of come into the
What's
same
the
space.
biggest sticking point right now? Like,
retrograde?
aliens.
big picture. Wait,
Aliens and retrograde. He doesn't like aliens
And she doesn't believe in Mercury retrograde and its
Correct.
effects.
But you're scared of aliens, Mystic Dylan, from what I remember.
I
He
am.
So
is.
you're just, it's not that you don't,
It's not that I don't believe. It's that
you're in denial.
Yeah, if I saw any of those little critters, I'd be out.
Tell
Yeah.
the truth. Do you believe?
Tell
the truth.
I definitely
Oh,
believe
this
that
is
there's
on the
stuff in
record.
space. Of course.
Tell the truth.
Whoa.
She's reading me.
This is
She's gonna
good. I
find
do like
out
when
one
you
way
guys
or another,
disagree.
dude.
We have a no reading. You can't read me unless I give you.
That's true. We
the
do have that.
approval.
He doesn't let me read him. That's true.
That's a good rule.
That is
yeah.
a good rule.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
Yeah,
Boundaries.
totally. Boundaries are key.
Can you put up a wall?
Yeah. And I have a safe word.
Do you really?
The wall is don't.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And the safe word is nacho.
Right. Yeah.
So I just want to let our listeners know, if you hear a slight sound distortion in the background, it's very hot here, so we're running a couple fans. So for the rest of the episode, I want you to picture we're just chilling with our friends out on a front porch on a hot New Orleans night,
Yeah.
and we're just going to tell some fun ghost stories that come from the world of our listeners. But before we do that, I was teased outside the studio before we walked in here that you two had something wacky happen. I don't know if wacky is the right word, but at my favorite place on earth, Disneyland.
Yes.
Love me some Disneyland.
Yes. So me and Dylan, because we do our little like celebration, so we hit 10,000 listens. So it's kind
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a
of
Milestone.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's not bad for
We got
4
very
months.
excited when that
Yeah,
happened,
We definitely
I
did,
know.
yeah.
We're babies, but it gives us an excuse to do our little celebration.
Yeah.
So we decided to go to Disneyland, and of course, because it's the Haunted Mansion.
My
50th
favorite ride.
Anniversary. My favorite ride.
Classic.
I mean, how could it not be?
Yeah,
It's
right.
very
It's
on
like
brand.
we are
for you
the
guys.
Haunted Mansion.
We always joke, we're like, we are the Haunted
We
Mansion.
live
Yeah.
in. What did you say that I'm your Madam
Leota.
Leota? And people don't know about Dylan, even though he's very witchy. He worked for Disney as a VIP tour, and he's
Walt
very
Disney World,
Disney.
Yeah,
correct?
well, Disney World in Florida. I'm a huge Disney nerd.
And it's funny because he's way more like that than me. He's way more like, "Hi, everybody!" Like through the whole park. How's your day? And all this kind of stuff. But we decided when we were going to go on the Haunted Mansion. So we were talking about it before, and he always sees me. He's like, "Can you ask Walt this? Can you ask Walt that?" And all this kind of
I
stuff.
wanted to talk to Walt. I want to know.
Right?
Makes
He's
sense.
in the apartment above the firehouse.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so we were teasing about that, and I was like, "Could you?" We were both like, "Could you imagine if the ride stopped?" I was like, "Just want to get stuck on Haunted Mansion."
But then we're walking through the park, and as we're walking through the park, all these crows started coming around
Like,
at the top.
we're behind
about
Cinderella's
10
castle.
crows.
Yeah.
And he
Awesome.
said he's never seen crows like
Never.
that.
We're behind.
Sleeping Beauty's castle.
Well, okay,
We're
that's
not
right.
in
We're not
Orlando.
in Orlando.
Dylan.
Sorry.
This is not the Magic Kingdom. This is Disneyland.
Yes, we are behind Sleeping Beauty's castle, and in Fantasyland, and literally all these crows are flying over, and it's like Twilight too.
Yeah,
It's like
and
close to
he's
evening.
like, I've never
And I'm
seen
like,
that, and it
"What?"
was kind of trippy. And then I
Did
yelled
they
out,
land on the castle?
"No, they
No,
just
they
were
were just
circling,
like they were circling, and it was
like high up.
pretty
yeah.
awesome.
Whoa.
It was pretty
Cool.
cool.
And they were pretty big ones too.
They were
like
big,
I
right.
would say it's on the verge of them being ravens. You
Yeah.
know, they were big boys.
It's like Maleficent has her
right?
raven in the movie.
Yeah, precisely.
And I have a real big connection with crows and stuff.
Yeah.
But I yelled out and I said, "So if you want to show us a sign, make the Haunted Mansion ride get stuck." So we go on the Haunted Mansion ride, and we're going, and it's like almost to the end. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not going to happen. And then his favorite part is with the
mummy drinking tea.
We get stuck
Yeah.
right in front of it. It stops
Right in
Whoa,
front.
really?
right in front of it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And a good like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say,
Whoa.
I don't want to burst your
No,
bubble.
no, no.
Ride
They
stops.
announced.
because that ride
Stops
stops
all the time. Because
But-
stupid kids want to get out and touch.
Yeah.
Well, they said they announced like,
but not for that long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like a 5 minutes. We thought the same thing too,
Yeah,
but we
I
were
was
like,
like-
we're stuck here for like 5 minutes, enough to like take selfies and record it,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
Took a
and,
boomerang.
Right.
Boomerang.
Nice.
and then as we go, I said, we're gonna get I just heard something say you'll get the skinny ghost. You know when you
Oh,
see,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one we got on our way out. And I was
Yeah.
like, but it was literally like right before we got on. So I know those are those things you can logic out, but it was kind of like
And our
the
favorite
sequence.
animatronic, or at least mine. Like I have.
No,
I
there was some personal significance
Yeah,
there. for
absolutely.
sure. And you know what? Why look a gift horse in the mouth?
Totally.
so true.
And
Yeah.
we were,
You asked
we
for
were,
it, you got
this
it.
is the thing about signs that people have to
Manifesting
understand.
the unmanifested.
Mm-hmm.
But
made
I
it
was
happen.
talking to the spirit world, and what people got to understand is if it's all the dots connecting, and that's the problem with signs that people tend to miss, is that you can logic anything out. But we even talked about it on our podcast that his favorite part is that, and we weren't just sort of in front of it. That's the only thing we could see was that mummy thing, and I had just said it, and then it was
pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
so
That's
you have
great.
to kind of just take it, you know.
I love
and
it.
we took it.
Yeah,
I
as you
took
should.
it. I
Yeah.
took it.
It
do
was-
you, Dylan? Do you have the mummy tattooed? You should get that
No,
tattooed.
I should.
Oh,
you know,
Mummy,
I have
that's a good
no
tattoo.
for all my tattoos. I have no Disney tattoos.
You
which is
gotta
weird.
get like a haunted mansion.
Yeah,
one
it's
for
That's
it.
like a
on
deep
my-
cut Disney
Yeah,
tattoo, though.
I do.
You know?
I want Madame Leota, or I'm probably gonna get the little mummy drinking tea.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've been at Disneyland a lot this year, and recently.
Thanks for the invite.
Well, anytime. Sometimes I go last minute, but I was on Space Mountain, and we rode it once, and then it started again. Like it didn't let us off. So we got to ride it a
Yes.
second time, and you know that tunnel that you go through where they flash all the lights and
Yeah.
take your picture at the
Yeah.
very end? We went through that, and then it stopped, and the whole thing broke down. And I was like, at first I was scared because I thought another car was going to rear end us.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
you know, if the whole thing's broke down, the whole thing's down. But it was cool because these people had to come out and like push the cart through the end of the tunnel. And as we came around, everyone was like clapping. It was
Oh
fun.
snap!
Maybe this is just a testament that Disney needs to, like, I don't know, get their act
Maybe,
together.
but that was cool. I've always wanted to do a walk off and like a ride
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you can like go past some cool stuff. This was just like you were like Space Mountain with the lights on.
It's crazy.
It
I saw it
ruins-
in.
it
I saw it in
ruins
It must.
Florida.
It's just like tracks. I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
It looks like
I was
a-
like, oh
It looks like a rundown laser tag.
yeah, cool. It does.
It's not good. Okay, so we have stories from our listeners today, and I thought you guys would be the perfect people to bring in. And because you guys are here, I thought, well, wait, let's have a Q&A from our listeners on Twitter and Instagram that have just questions for you guys. So we're going to do some listener stories first, and then we're going to do the Q&A. For that, we're taking a quick break. We'll be right back.
Awesome. But it's flammable, right?
Yeah, it's very flammable.
He taught me that, and I
Very
was like,
flammable.
That's why I like
did
my
not
cauldron.
know that.
Florida water is flammable.
Yes.
Explain this to me, please, because I feel like this is something people need to know.
Yes, so it goes back to 1864 during the Civil War. No.
Oh, I was going with it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
that's
back,
kind of how
by
it
the way.
started.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, we are. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So essentially, Florida water is known now in the community for cleansing. So it pretty much you use it to cleanse off the bad juju, but it actually started as
like in a mystical way.
in a mystical sense.
'Cause I was
It's
like,
good for-
I use water to cleanse
yeah,
in
you
my
use water
shower.
to cleanse in your
That's how
shower.
it's like-
Though you can, I put it in my body wash. I put a little bit because it just cleanses. It removes all the bad juju or bad spiritual gunk.
Got it.
Awesome.
But it really kind of started. It has an interesting story. So it started as a cologne. And if you've ever seen Gone with the Wind, when Rhett's coming up the stairs, when she sees him for the first time, she's like, "Where's my toothpaste?" And she actually takes a swig
Of Florida water?
Florida water.
So wait, I'm
Yeah.
confused. Is Florida water the name of something?
So
It's
it's an
the-
English.
Adele
yeah,
gave
it's
it
on the
to
So
us.
it's
shelf.
this little perfume.
Oh, duh.
It's this little cologne, not from Florida. It's actually from New York. And
I
they
thought you were
just-
talking about the taps that come
Yeah,
out.
I had a feeling that's why I wanted
the
to
water
show
that
him.
came out of
No.
the taps has alcohol. And I'm like, what is happening in Florida? This might explain some of the headlines that have been happening.
We understand what's
Yeah.
happening in
The
Florida.
zombies.
Finally.
Now
The
we know
bath
what's wrong with
salts.
all these Florida men.
people.
the Florida men, the bath salts. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Florida. So essentially, it's really just a cologne.
It's like a tonic.
Yeah, it's like a tonic.
But I thought it was water, and
yeah.
I did not know all this time.
Girl, I'm
And
so
I was
glad
just like
told
throwing
you.
it places.
She was.
And he was like, because I hardly ever use it for cleansing, hardly
No,
ever.
I
That's why-
use it. So I put it
He
in
did
my
use it a
cauldron,
lot, yeah.
and then I throw a match in there, and it actually makes a beautiful.
I
blue
love that you have
fire.
a cauldron.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
I have many different sizes.
Yeah.
I have
He has
I have my
several.
I have my mini table cauldron. I have my larger, and then I have my big Black Beauty.
Yeah.
But essentially, so it was a cologne, and then during the late 1800s, it started getting used for spiritual purposes.
Cool.
So it's
I love
really
it.
cool.
All
It's
right.
better than sage.
Well, you chime in and let me know when Florida water might solve some of the problems that our listeners are happening or are having.
everyone.
Okay, this one is called "Crazy Experience with Adela Lavine."
Oh, yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Gabby, and I just wanted to tell you about an experience my boyfriend and I had with Adela Lavine. The Mystic Museum recently hosted a class on spirit communication. My boyfriend and I ghost hunt on the Queen Mary pretty often, so I thought this might be something cool and helpful for us. The first half of the class was taught by Mystic Dylan. He went over the history of communicating with spirits, tools, and protection. The second half was taught by Adela. She explained that for her portion, we were going to lay down on the floor and she was going to push our energy out of our bodies and take us directly to, in all caps, the spirit realm. I look over at my boyfriend and he seemed not down for this, but he had listened to the entire class so far and was laying down to participate in this next part. And the room was small, so we sprawled out behind a little sofa. Adela then played some music while instructing us to lift up and when to meet our spirit guides, etc. I physically felt different each time we went somewhere, but the majority of the time I only saw colors and got a full-on image about twice. I mean, that's good. If you're seeing like colors,
Totally.
Yeah.
Gabby, you're tripping in a good way. Let me see. She was seeing images. Okay. When she brought us back, she had everyone sit up and get their bearings. People started quietly talking, but my boyfriend was still out. It's 10 p.m., so I assumed he's asleep. So I start rubbing him gently to wake him up. He's not waking up. Adela starts talking to the class, so I start shaking him harder. He begins shaking like he's having a seizure. I'm sorry I'm laughing. I'm not really laughing. I'm getting nervous. Then his eyes open, but they roll straight to the back of his head.
Whoa.
What? Where
He
was I?
suddenly jolts awake. I know, I got nervous. I was like,
Jeez.
this is cool. I think this is cool to tell this story.
Jesus. Nice job, Adela.
He suddenly jolts awake and immediately starts crying. I ask him if he's okay, and he says, no.
Oh my
Everyone
God.
else starts telling Adela what they saw. Someone saw a giant white bird. Someone else saw all of their old pets. I'm bummed because I didn't see any of that, but whatever. When we get back to the car, he finally tells me what happened. When Adela started telling us to cover ourselves in a gold light, my boyfriend said he immediately shot up into space. He was surrounded by stars and couldn't hear Adela anymore. He hung out there for a while and then started falling down into pure blackness. He said he was in the pitch black for what felt like hours. He saw a light coming towards him, and suddenly he was standing on a beach at night. Only somehow the sand was warm and lit up like it was daytime. Then his deceased dad appeared. He asked his dad where he was and his dad just said, "You're here." His dad then asked him how the rest of the family was doing. At some point, they sat down on 2 camping chairs and were just catching up on that beach. My boyfriend said he could hear a woman's voice saying, come back," and started to feel like he was being pulled away. So he quickly grabbed onto his dad. His dad hugged him, saying, "It's okay," and that's when my boyfriend woke up. He was too freaked out to talk to Adela at the class, but he ended up messaging her when we got home. This is by far the craziest thing that's happened to us. I love your show. Hope you enjoyed my story. We did. It was.
Yeah.
I felt like I was throwing you under the bus there
Yeah.
for a second, but I knew she contacted you, or
Yeah.
the boyfriend
Yeah.
had. But
Yeah.
what's that
Yeah.
about? That's
Yeah.
intense, but very beautiful in the
Very-
end.
Yeah.
Yes. So what that's about is, me and Dylan did a class, and we're actually going to be doing another one coming up, where he, we were talking about earlier, he kind of likes to talk about the tangibles and the things, and I like to just throw people literally to there. But I do, the golden light is about protecting the physical self. And it's really not light, like it's just how we see it. It's a vibration, and we interpret vibrations through colors, just similar to Riley's board that he has there.
I call her guest relations of the underworld because she gives you a tour.
Yeah.
But I cried during that class too. I saw
Yeah.
my grandfather,
Really?
and I was one of the last people to wake up too.
And he's
Yeah.
very close to you. You
Yeah.
talked about him on the episode that we had
Yeah.
you on prior to this.
And that's when I saw all my previous animals. So she sent me down, and it was like my grandfather, my cat, and like my 5 dogs that I've had growing up. It was the craziest experience, and I woke up like shaking.
Whoa.
Well, what happens is that with that situation, what I'm doing is like music, and is a vibration, and we are vibrating. What people understand is when you push what I do, the reason why I use music is because it helps vibrate the frequency in us and push us out. And he obviously didn't have as hard time as he thought he would, and a lot of times.
And do you think that's because he might have had like easy access to that realm already and didn't know it?
Yeah, it's probably a little easier than he thinks. And I was pushing kind of hard, and he probably, because he actually wasn't really expecting anything, he just kind of, didn't fight it. Because it sounds like he wasn't, I don't know, and he wasn't resisting, but he wasn't really thinking anything would happen.
Right.
And so what I do is, it's really the master teachers that she called guides. They're the higher beings that I've talked about before, that I have come and help pull out the spirit. And so it's to see, you go to that realm, just like when you have dreams of the spirit world, you're actually going to that realm. So it's the same idea. But I'm trying to get you guys to be aware of it instead of thinking I just had some dream. And it is exactly that. You go there and you're sitting in this chair and he's actually talking. What happened probably was I do bring people back very subtly, but it probably shocked him how fast he went out. It sounds like he has the ability more than he thinks, and he shot out a little quicker. And I do look around and I walk around and I let people who are laying there take a minute, to get situated. But I can see and I pull on energy to bring people back. Like I can see everybody. It was like 30 something people, but I can still see what everyone's doing. And when the voice isn't just my voice, I'm pulling the energies back of everybody to come back and kind of snap back into the physical self. And so, yeah, I do remember him messaging me, and he was actually very happy in the message. It was just probably shocking.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think to me, I interpret it as, well, he's just had this
he was shocked.
crazy experience.
Yeah.
Crazy meaning like
right.
unexpected.
Expected.
Yeah.
And I've done this lots of times when I tell people, I say, this is a real thing. And the colors is really pretty much how it starts for most people, but that's just the beginning part. And he went, what I'm doing is taking you beyond this plane into the other plane. So I'm not really into the astral plane when we're doing this. We're going to the other dimension.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm so
The other
happy.
world.
That makes me
Awesome.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. It was like a thrilling adventure with a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's from Katie. She says, I love the show. I cannot recommend it enough to people. Thank you so much, Katie. I have 2 stories to tell. One was terrifying and one is sweet, but both have stuck with me since the day they each happened.
We're starting with sweet or terror.
Scary first.
Always scary first.
Yeah.
Always scary first.
I lived
Get
in
it
a
out of the way.
2-bedroom apartment with a coworker. I worked swing shift and she worked graveyard. And we noticed many strange sounds around the house that we wrote off to being part of apartment life. We lived in a downstairs apartment in a 2-story complex. It began with the upstairs neighbor walking loudly each morning at 5:30 a.m. I would wake up and hear them walking from one end of the room to the other. While slightly annoyed, it wasn't a big deal. My roommate began to complain to me about the neighbors being loud during the day, so we decided to go upstairs and introduce ourselves. We hoped we could ask them to please be a little bit more quiet during their morning routine. As a now late 30s adult, I would just get over it, but I was 21 and annoying. Don't be so hard on yourself. We went to their apartment and knocked. It was then we realized that the upstairs apartment was empty. It had been vacant since we moved in. We just shrugged it off and tried not to think too much about it. The footsteps continued, but I managed to sleep through them. One morning I woke up to someone knocking on my bedroom wall. It was 4:30 in the morning and the knocking was happening all over the wall from ceiling to the floor. I was frightened and turned on the lamp next to my bed. I stayed in my room until 6 a.m. My roommate happened to be off that night, and when she woke up at 7, she complained to me about a loud knocking on her wall at 4:30. My wall was the wall of our neighbor's living room, but her wall was shared with our bathroom. By now, I was beginning to realize there was something weird happening, but I still pushed it to the back of my mind until I couldn't ignore it anymore. Really ruined that delivery. Damn it. My roommate came to work to begin her shift, and as I was getting ready to leave, she looked exhausted, she says, my roommate came to work to begin her shift as I was getting ready to leave. She looked exhausted and worried. I asked her if she was okay, and she said, yeah, it was just a dream. I pressed her on the dream, and she told me that she woke up at 9 p.m., and got up to check the window because a loud noise woke her up. She looked out the window and she didn't see anything. She checked the hallway, nothing in there. She kept her door open and the hallway light on and went back to lie down. As soon as she put her head on the pillow, she saw it come into the room. A man so tall he had to stoop to get into the room, walking through her open door. She couldn't move. She described him as tall with sharp features. His skin was very dark. As he got closer, she realized his skin was a deep red, so dark that it looked black. He sat down on her bed and she felt her bed sink. He looked around her room and then said, I haven't had 4 walls around me since Jesus was my brother. Then he put his face right up to hers and inhaled deeply. He got up and walked out the door. As soon as he was out the door, she was able to move again. She got up and ran to the hallway, and no one was there. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was sleep paralysis. Maybe it was a dream. I just know she was scared, and I stayed at my parents' house that night. I had the house blessed by a priest the following week, and all the weird noises, knocking, and high strangeness stopped. That's story number 1. Now we have story number 2, which is sweet.
Wait, I want to know more about Jesus' brother.
Well,
I'm just gonna say Florida water.
We'll take a pause there. We'll come to the sweet story in a moment. What do you? That's creepy. The image of the guy stooping to walk through her door is really creepy.
But that's just energy. People, those type of beings can like stretch. They can change their energy to any type of appearance they want to create.
Who's they? Adela?
Yeah, Adela.
She says casually.
Spirits or beings, but that's more like a spirit. And the spirit, a very well versed and good at manipulating energy.
Okay.
And can change form in a lot better. Obviously, this wasn't one just trying to be her friend. What are you saying?
No,
because Dylan doesn't like this stuff. That's why he
shaking
was
out the
like,
heebie-jeebies.
Yeah,
you got a cauldron and a shirt full of skulls, and you're telling me,
he does it.
You're not into this?
No,
I'm into it. I'm into it.
But he
Doesn't mean
doesn't
that
like
I
to
want
see
it.
stuff. Yeah.
I don't like seeing. I have a rule
But
with the
my
spirit
first
world.
sense is that this was not harmful. People immediately think it's evil, but it's kind of more like a teacher type of thing, but not doing it in a very nicety way that people always want. Like people always think angels and things like that have to be like always just la la la, and sometimes it isn't that way.
Well, sometimes you get spirits that don't know their social cues.
Absolutely. And there's also a misconception. Everyone assumes, like, when they were talking about the red, like, red is not necessarily a malevolent color and not necessarily associated with evil.
But she
it's
saw
actually,
it as like dark at
yeah,
the end.
she saw it as dark.
But the color red on the spectrum at night looks very deep, looks
Right,
darker than it is.
sinister,
It's one of the
yeah.
first colors to vanish on the spectrum at night.
But remember when I
so-
was saying colors is a vibration, and we interpret the vibration, we interpret the color, the vibration into a color.
Yeah.
So what I have learned is red is, when I see red, that it's a vibration, it can be very passion. And
Yeah.
it doesn't always have to, it's not always evil. It could be anger, it could be passion.
And to the Greeks and Egyptians, it represents, it's just life. It's the blood. So blood is essentially the blood force.
But I feel like this was definitely a being, a spirit that was, letting that presence known and kind of waking them up a little bit. But they're not always going to do it like la-di-da, here's a flower.
To Riley's question,
Yeah.
what do you make of the Jesus's brother? Since I was Jesus's
Maybe
brother,
saying that it was ancient, probably an old spirit, you know?
like walked.
Yeah,
the earth
walked
at the same
time
time.
So it's
as
like
the
a-
time of
Jesus.
Jesus,
Like
It's
his
a,
brethren, not
yeah, it's like a
literal
poetic
brother.
way of saying
Precisely.
It. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, saying that it's not a spirit that died in like the 50s.
Whoa.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's not literal. That's what people got to understand, is that realm
Right.
doesn't always have to be literal. It's just letting them know that they're a more of a master type of spirit. That's why I said these are the masters can be like how I talked about the watchers, whatever. The masters can be very, very like that. So it's letting you know that I'm no
Pesky watchers
Old.
again.
They're always watching.
Old spirit.
All right, let's do
no
the sweet
spirit, right.
story.
I
All right,
agree.
here we
And
go.
it's a little sad as well.
Aw.
My sweet story is about my brother. My brother died in 2008 after a long illness. In 2011, I woke up and I saw him walking through the room I was staying in. It was his old room. And he walked out. This was around 3 in the morning. I assumed, 3 o'clock. I see you nodding, Dylan. That's the hour of high strangeness. I assumed that I had been dreaming about him and just carried it over to real life. I didn't give it a second thought. The next day, I was at a friend's house and my mom called me. She wanted to ask me for a favor, and after a brief conversation, she said, "Oh, Mija, I just wanted to tell you about a dream I had last night. Your brother was in your room and he kissed you on the cheek and walked out. I know he came to see me. His life was one that was short but full of a lot of living in the 37 years he was on Earth. It brought me such comfort to know he was still looking out for me. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the podcast, Katie.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
beautiful.
And we're sorry for your loss, but he's there. It sounds like he's with you.
Absolutely.
That's
Well,
really
yeah,
beautiful.
those energies are constantly there. But
Yeah.
3 a.m. is only because that's to do with us. People always think it's something to do with the time.
Well, okay. Well, what is it to do with us? Because we're usually sleeping and
Your mind is not interfering so much with your ability. It's because you're really deep into
The REM sleep.
to be able to like open your spirit to it, and your mind doesn't start interfering with what's happening. I mean, I've been waking up 3 to 5 my whole life,
yeah.
and that time is, I know, just like
That's when people are like, Adela, I need to talk to you right now. Adela.
it's the only time I can't.
I texted her at 3 in my spirit. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, he was. Yeah, that was
go.
after our class because he had
Yeah.
his
that was
closet
crazy.
door opened.
The night,
What?
so the same night of the story that we read.
I told you the same thing. I tell everybody, you want to see some shit?
So after I had my my whole experience with my grandfather, and we did our whole class, I went home, and I'm like watching TV, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm getting ready, and I couldn't sleep, and all of a sudden, so I have these 2 wooden doors that slide on my closet, and like it's like packed, like it's also a storage unit, and all of a sudden I just hear this pop, and my closet popped open.
What?
Yeah, and it was crazy. So then I closed it again, and I didn't like lock it all the way, and then slowly but surely it just opened more.
And then your snake got
And then
out.
so I texted her, and I was like, my closet just opened, whatever. I couldn't sleep. I was like, whatnot. And then I went to sleep, and that at like it was like 3:45 in the morning. I woke up and I felt something, and at the foot of the bed, I have this long terrarium, and that's where my python is. I have a Burmese python.
Rad.
No,
Oh, that's
no,
your. Oh, yeah.
I woke up.
no.
I woke up.
Daddy.
I woke up and I'm like, what? And
Someone's sneaking out.
she was half. So she's half on my bed and half in her terrarium.
Whoa.
And like she can't. There's no way. And that also slides, but it's heavy glass. Like
Yeah.
there's no way. And it was pretty insane. So I texted her and I was like, nope.
Yeah, and I'm like, nope about your snake.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
your snake's name?
Marie Laveau,
Oh.
after the Voodoo Queen.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't really like.
No,
Aw,
I do
she's-
not like it.
Okay,
But
so
she
she has the
sounds
face of a
sweet.
Labrador.
She sounds sweet.
She has a little puppy face.
That's even scarier than
That actually,
snake.
that
No.
I was
A
with,
snake
I was
with a
with the snake, but
head of
puppy
she's like
snake
dog?
is
I will
terrifying.
talk
She's like-
to
she's
spirits
like-
and beings.
She's like a
all day
golden
long.
retriever
No
without
snake.
legs.
That is like something out of one of those medieval, like
Yeah.
bestiary, like.
If you met her, you'd be
Catalogs.
like, I see it. She has a puppy face.
Oh, I don't
I'll
like-
show you a picture.
You know what? I'm
Bring
back
her
in
to the studio.
No,
No?
I should. I
not while I'm
will.
here.
We can do a podcast with her.
Adela, what is it with snakes? You
No,
just don't.
I don't like the feeling. No, I don't know.
Is it a
Yeah.
tactile
just
thing? The touch of
Yeah,
it?
it's a anything that's kind of coming up, on me. I don't like, but weirdly, I don't mind anything in that other realm like
What's
that.
funny is that they're so
That's
connected
interesting.
to the other realm.
Well,
Are they? Is that a thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to
If you look
convince me
at,
of
if you look, snakes are the coolest because throughout, whether it be Native American culture or Egypt or all cultures associate them with magic and witchcraft.
Yeah, yeah.
And because they don't have legs and they're on their belly and they shed their skin, they're associated with death, earth, and primordial, ancient knowledge.
Dylan, I'm not a snake. I'm a Labrador with my legs cut off.
I've been trying to explain it this
Creepier.
whole time.
creepier, even creepier. Jeez, no.
Let's move on.
Yes, let's move on. Keep
Hey.
your snakes in their cage.
Hey, Michael, Bryce, Riley, and insert guest, Adela and Mystic Dylan.
Yay!
Man, I wish I had a UFO sighting to share, but like everyone else in the world, I just have a ghost story. Well, a poltergeist type of let me follow you 100 miles across SoCal in the mass of 3 years ghost story.
All right.
It all started in 2014 when I was dorming at CSU Channel Islands, what used to be Camarillo State Hospital. The dorms that I was living in was built from the ground up, so it was not renovated like the rest of the dorms from the old hospital room. So it was not renovated like the rest of the dorms from old hospital rooms to dorms. So she was
Gotcha.
in the new wing. He or she. Let me see. I
Wait,
think
this
it's
was a
she.
hospital turned into a dorm?
Yep.
Nope.
Sounds nice.
Nope.
And the dorms she was living in were built from scratch. So, but
Oh,
some of the
okay.
ones had been converted.
Okay.
No, thank you. By the way, to that hard
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Not a good
I'm
idea.
getting an off-campus apartment.
Exactly. Tent.
Yeah. Mind you, before the university came about and after the hospital closed, the land was blessed by both a priest and the Chumash tribe. The Chumash believed that the part of the Rainbow Bridge had landed somewhere on the university hospital land that helped the Chumash migrate from the coastal islands to the mainland. So the land was essentially blessed and supposedly cleaned, but let me just say, from bad juju, but let me just say, wrong. On this specific night, I was in the dorms by myself. I had 3 other roommates who had not moved in yet, and that night I went to bed and I woke up with my sheets tightening around me. I'm not a sheet, I'm just a Labrador with no legs.
I'm innocent. So cute.
The sheets were keeping me down, and as soon as I tried to move, hands started crawling up from what seemed like under the bed, over my feet, up to my legs. These are her words. Up to my crotch, my boobs, and my head. As soon as I figured out what the fuck was happening, I started saying all of the prayers I knew, like a good, non-practicing Catholic.
That's when you do it.
At the end of my Hail Mary, I looked up and there was a priest-looking guy standing beside my bed. Decked out in that brown, burlappy priest uniform, like a monk, I guess, from back in the day, looking past me at whatever was under my bed. He muttered some words, and the hands descended down below my bed. Whoa.
Okay.
Now, a curse that I seem to have is that I dream every night, lucid dreaming, in fact. I know when I am dreaming and when I am not, and I also know how to get out of my dreams if it happens to get too scary.
Ooh.
Let me tell you, I was not dreaming. Fast forward 1 year, 2015.
Ooh.
I was doing my victory lap at CSU Channel Islands. Took me 5 years. Ha ha ha. And I was napping in my car on campus. When I was sleeping, I experienced some type of sleep paralysis. Notice I didn't use that as an excuse in my first story. I had a pressure on my chest and I couldn't breathe, and I woke myself up gasping for air. Looking around frantically, no one was in my car nor by their cars in the parking lot. I quickly looked at my chest and saw that it was red. I've attached a photo. Whatever it was a familiar energy. Now, here's a photo, and you can see it's her collarbone, like underneath it looks a little red, a little bit discolored.
Yeah,
you
a
can
little
see
bruising,
that.
maybe.
A little
Nothing drastic,
Yeah.
but I'm sure if you noticed that, you would notice it if there was a difference.
Mhm.
Okay. We're fast forwarding another year, 2016. I got my degree. This is like turning into a miniseries. I got my degree and I was living with my mom in Fillmore.
Got married.
It's like so many
Two
different
kids.
settings and characters. My mom's house is incredibly haunted, and I guess that could be a story for another email. But this time, I mean, why stop now? Really?
Just keep it
This
coming.
time, it was from familiar energy. Again, I was laying in bed asleep when my door opened. I sleep with the door closed at all times. No one walks through, but the door is moving as if something was. I look to the ground, and there is a snake slithering on the ground. I'm
Nope.
not making
No
this
way.
up.
Shut up.
No.
I am not making this up.
Oh,
Come
no.
on.
Look what you did, Dylan. Leave
A
the girl
sort
alone.
of Harry
Snakes.
Potter and the Chamber of Secrets snake, a basilisk. The snake slithers up my bed, over my
No.
foot, up my leg, up to my chest, wraps around my neck, and hisses right in my ear. I say my prayers again, and nothing happens. So instead, I say, "In the name of Jesus Christ, leave." The snake descends upon my body, back onto the floor,
Is this a real
through my
snake?
door, and the door closes. Like any adult would, I got up and ran into my mom's room and slept there for the night.
Boom.
I think I got confused. Is this like a
No,
tangible snake?
No, like
Dream snake.
Like a psychic snake.
it's like
Psychic
a
snake.
spirit snake.
Spirit
Oh,
snake.
okay.
psychic
I
snake.
keep saying I'm not a spirit snake.
I'm just a Labrador.
With no
Just
legs.
play with me.
I think we have our new T-shirt.
Yeah, that's a great shirt. We got to make that.
I think that's what I was trying to say.
Someone please draw that and send it to us.
There's a snake in this story. That's
crazy.
not a snake.
Crazy.
Welcome
And it's not a snake.
Welcome to me and Dylan's life.
Okay.
I know. This is confirmation.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, guys.
Yeah.
One more time leap.
Whoa, sorry.
Now we're in
The year is
2017.
2074.
Yeah, she's in the future now.
Darth Vader came back.
Yeah. Now we've already discussed this. That was in the past, Adela.
Okay, that's right. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You're right.
I've done that dumb mistake before. Don't worry.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's a dumb mistake.
It's one thing he takes very seriously.
It's
I
the
know
only
it's
thing
the
I have
past.
left.
I know it's the past.
The only thing I have left. All right, let's get back to Juliet's story.
All right, here we go.
Now, this is the last of the story. I'm living in San Bernardino. Had a quarter life crisis. I mean, this is like season 1, season 2, season 3. So many character arcs.
Skipping.
I'm loving it.
And
Binge
decided
watching.
I could make it on my own some 100 miles away from my family. Girl, get out of their grasp. They're only holding you back.
Gonna make it on your own.
They have ghost snakes in their house. Get out of there.
They're not working for you.
No, not happening. Again, I was sleeping and my door opened. Oh my good Lord. Put a padlock on there. Oh no, guys, guess who's back?
Oh, the snake.
The door opened, and that same damn snake came in again, slithered up to my bed, and instead of wrapping around my neck, it was staring at me. I could not move, but I could feel that heavy fuck laying on my stomach, pelvis,
Now
and
she's
legs.
pissed.
Yeah, she's really angry.
Turning into a warrior.
It just wants love.
Oh, God.
At this point, I was just pissed off as to why this kept happening. I purposely didn't say any prayers because now this was a nuisance. 3 years in a row? Now this had to stop. So I started I stared back at it for what felt like forever, and I got this sudden panic of, "You're an idiot, dude. What the hell are you doing?" I closed my eyes and I felt fangs go down on my head. I shook and jolted my body up, and it was morning. That day, I went to my tattoo artist and got Joshua 1:9 tattooed on me. The verse reads, do you guys know this verse?
No.
Nobody here does. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. That energy has not visited me since I got that tattooed 2 years ago. Other energies have, and maybe that is a story for another day.
A lot of stories.
That's season 6 through 8. But this was my scariest encounter that lasted a few years. I do think it was a spirit energy that followed me for 3 years and just formed into whatever it wanted to scare me. Or I don't know, but for now, it's at bay. You guys are doing a great job with your podcast, and how you do not strictly stick with ghosts definitely have been educating me, and I'm sure others on all of your paranormal encounters. Well, thank you, Juliet. P.S. Look up the Camarillo State Hospital. I have attached a picture that is not my own, but it scares the crap out of me. This was from an abandoned part of the hospital. Literally, when it shut down, people just stopped what they were doing and left. And she's attached a photo of somebody who's staring in a mirror, and there seems to be some sort of, this is hard for you guys to see, I'll pass it over to you guys, but there's some type of entity in the reflection in the background. So that was a great story. Thank you so much.
That was a great
awesome
story.
letter.
Was
So
good.
funny.
Also, like the snake thing. Are you kidding me?
The snake just wanted the love.
Oh, come on. Well,
And the monk that was
Yeah.
protecting her that first time.
right. Well, first of all, spirits don't attach and they don't follow. So I actually just did a YouTube video about that called "Do Spirits Attach?" And they don't
The
attach.
video was just her going,
It's
no.
really simple. They attach.
It's
No.
a 2-second video.
And we're done.
It's just you
Spoiler alert.
with your back to camera.
Just holding
You
up the
look,
sign.
you look over your shoulder.
Like
and you
Miles
say,
Davis used
"No."
to. And I just hold up
Yeah.
signs. I don't talk.
This is what's hard about our podcast. We'll talk about things, and she's like, well, that doesn't happen. And I was like, so that's what will happen. We'll go on the podcast. You'll say that doesn't happen. And we'll be like,
I
thank
did
you.
not
Why
do
did
that.
she have a snake 3 years apart or
I
2
mean,
years
so
or a
this
year
is,
apart?
This is what people have to understand. Like, first of all, sleep paralysis is a thing. And sleep paralysis is usually when a spirit is, when something's actually not negative, they're actually trying to pull. You know how we talked earlier about my class, where I help in a more gentle way, in the right way of pulling people out. Those energies are trying to help you sometimes come out and talk to them and visit them. Sometimes there's ones that are doing it too, like, they're not doing it in a nice way. But the snake is more symbolic. It's, yeah.
But it also makes me think that it was the spirit is not, because you and I have talked about the difference between like spirits and deities or spirits and energies. If it's not taking a form of I don't think that it's like the spirit of a person that passed and they're like, I'm going to be a snake. Like,
no.
I feel like there's a message there, some symbolism. Like,
well,
you said.
yeah, and I kind of believe in, because I'm a practical person, there's also psychological things you're dealing with and you're battling. And she obviously, the right thing she did was saying she wanted to face something,
There were some
her own
clues
fears.
in her story that
Yeah.
she was, having a quarter-life
Right.
crisis,
Right.
dealing with needing
The
change.
snake thing, that's a lot of it to
Yeah.
me.
And-
My read on it is it's more
And
psychological.
change, you brought that up a moment ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The snake sheds its skin.
There you
that
go.
transformation.
So it's symbolic. And so
Yeah.
it's a good message. See, a lot of times what people do, and we talk about this a lot, right, Dylan, that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff that is taught in the media and taught to people that is really bad and negative is actually is not. And so,
It's trying to have you
Like
change.
drugs.
Yes.
Exactly.
But
We
also-
did not just okay drugs.
We
Dylan.
didn't. No,
Let's
I
just make it
didn't.
clear. That was Michael.
But also, it was Michael.
I'm trying to learn.
But also, so the snake also represents offensive and defensive energy.
Right.
So if you look at the staff of Hermes, you see the two
Yes,
snakes wrapped
the
around
caduceus.
it. Yeah, look at you. You know.
We talked about it.
I always thought it was
And,
caduceus.
Caduceus,
Yeah.
caduceus.
You know,
caduceus,
ancient Greek.
caduceus.
Ancient Greek.
It's Greek to me.
But it represents
Caduceus.
the malignant forces, dark and light. It's that duality. Because the snake if you get bit by a snake, you get poisoned, but you actually need snake venom to heal you.
Oh.
So it represents that aspect of healing as well as.
Well, yeah, and
Also, a snake can eat its own tail, and that's an Ouroboros.
There,
That sure
look
is.
at you,
I got
which also
one of those
represents
right about here.
you really?
which also
That's the
represents
only-
renewal.
I've always thought if I ever get a tattoo, it's going to be that.
Yeah.
I've got that on
Bro.
on my side there.
So-
Get
Boom.
matching belly
all the
Ouroboros.
boys
Look
are
at
getting
Ouroboros
caught up
on our
on the
belly button.
snake.
Yeah, and then,
so cute.
And then let's touch them every time we meet.
I love that
Instead of
plan.
hugging, we lift our shirts and press them together.
Oh my goodness!
Like
so
Care Bears.
everybody when the boys went to the snake stories and comparing that.
There we
and
go.
I just want her to know that part of that was something trying to help her go through this change.
But I will
Yeah.
tell you, I went to in my middle school in Florida, Doral Academy. Actually, we found out. So there were two suicides there, and we found out that it used to be a asylum. And they just gutted it out and turned it into a freaking middle school.
Well, yeah,
Sounds like a great idea.
This is a nice place for
Perfect.
kids.
It was like
This would be a nice school.
But let's be real, Florida. All
Yeah.
goes back to Florida.
It all goes back to
Oh,
Florida.
we love Florida, though.
Yeah.
We love you guys
I know,
in the
but
swamps.
Craig,
Right, right.
boy.
It's saving.
What
Florida.
about me? Do you still love me? My legs. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, your questions for Adela and Dylan.
doesn't explain a lot.
No, it doesn't.
Oh my god.
All right, guys, are you ready for a little Q&A session?
Yes.
We're going to
Yes.
kick this off with the only email we got, email question. This is from Manuel, and I know this gentleman, and he's awesome and also a huge Haunted Mansion fan. He went to the 50th anniversary. Maybe I'm blowing him up a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't, but I'm sure he's
I
fine.
wanted to go to that.
I
expensive.
Don't be jealous.
know. I was
Well,
super
I was in
jealous.
New Orleans, so.
Okay.
Oh,
The
okay.
real Haunted
The
Mansion.
real Haunted Mansion.
Okay. Years ago, I was very close to someone, so close that it often happened that I could sense that when she was feeling down and call to check on her, and she would always say, "You always know when to call me." One extremely busy day before the days of cell phones, I couldn't get her out of my mind. I was swamped in college, dealing with meetings, class, and school projects from 7:30 a.m. until I finished my last meeting at around 9:30 p.m. While driving home exhausted, I pulled into a park that was still under construction, so there were no other people around. I just needed a few minutes to relax and collect my thoughts before getting home. And this place just seemed like a quiet place to do so. While sitting in my car, I started to feel the calmest and at most peace that I've ever felt in my life, almost euphoric. Then I noticed that my car was being surrounded by dozens of rabbits coming out of the nearby tall grasses. I'm talking about around 50 of them. This peacefulness was amazing, and every worry I had left, including that of my friend. After about 20 minutes, I drove home and quickly fell asleep. The next morning, while getting ready for school, I received a call from my friend's stepmother saying that my friend had committed suicide the day before. After months of feeling guilty that I didn't make the time to reach out to my friend that busy day, I also felt like it was she who placed that feeling of peace upon me. So my question is, even though I believe that my friend tried to show me that she was at peace by having me feel that way, is she truly at peace? In your experience, what happens to the spirit of one who commits suicide? Or does that vary from one soul to another? Thanks for their story.
Yeah.
So this is a heavy one, a little bit, but it's important.
This is really important. I actually was gonna. I'm kind of pacing, but I've been requested to do a YouTube video on this subject because it's a bit. I do a lot of these type of readings, more than I would like, obviously. But what he should know and everyone should know is that when it comes to suicide, there's different types. There's accidental suicide, that realm calls accidental, which would mean people who are not being careful with their bodies. It can even be just being careless, like, in your car. It could be drugs. It could be, just not taking your life, seriously, and you're just kind of playing with life. They kind of consider that accidental. There's people who wake up that morning and plan it. I've done some where they've planned it for a year. And so there's different, it's all different scenarios, but it's all the same in that when people pass, there's nothing but compassion and empathy from that realm. And I call it a rehab for people. They call it like a spiritual rehab, where your spirit has to go through healing. You still have to face and feel everything you needed to face and feel in this realm. You feel everything everybody's experiencing in this realm. You can hear them. They can see you. They know what you're experiencing. And in order for them to grow and to heal, they have to face all of that. It's not a punishment. It's just growth and healing. So she was, this is the main thing people want to know. I'm not being punished. I'm not being treated poorly. Also, I'm not just skipping around and just getting away from life. That's what a lot of times I hear is people are like, I didn't know I was going to have to still see and feel, and I still need to go through what I need to go through. But some actually say this is a way that, I'm willing to do it. Most say they're willing to do it. Sometimes they don't immediately feel that way because they're kind of in shock that they're still conscious and having to feel. Wow. But there's nothing but love and compassion and empathy in that realm.
And rabbits have a lot of symbolism for the other world, and like by having so many, it's kind of like what
is it?
Well, I mean, rabbits are in Celtic mythology.
Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Celtic mythology, you have essentially there's this myth of like it's Rhiannon, she turns into a rabbit, or Bridget, she turns into a rabbit, and she's supposed to be that link to Earth. So from
Who's
Bridget, she's a goddess of magic.
Okay, yeah.
And she's a goddess of healing. She's a Celtic goddess.
We talked about her on your first episode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's the one that she survived forever. She goes from a pagan to a Catholic saint to a voodoo spirit. But rabbits have a lot throughout European folklore. And if you see a rabbit in the evening, or if you see a rabbit, it's supposed to be that you're either with this ancestral realm or you're connected to this ancestral realm.
Whoa.
And I just want people to know that in the spirit realm, because people ask this a lot, they're not turning into these they're not turning into these animals and things like this. The physical world here, the animal world, whether it's birds, rabbits, butterflies, it's a frequency that the spirit world asks for that for them to help them out. They're like, okay, I know he's sitting there and he's worried, and I need him to know, can you help me out? And so all those rabbits hear that frequency from the spirit and they cooperate with the spirit. That's how it really works. And so that's what I want people to know.
So
when you see a
cool.
butterfly and you're like, oh, I was just thinking of my mom. Well, your mom's putting you into telepathically talking to you, putting that thought into your mind, and then reaches out to the butterfly. Hey, could you fly by right now? So they can correlate the two.
Yeah.
So it's all a frequency working together.
And to me, it's like, what better way of confirmation, or what better way of, obviously instead of seeing the specter, instead of seeing that image, but like to be like sitting in a car and imagine like just seeing all these rabbits. Like I would say that there's something,
to help him out.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty interesting.
And I want to say, if you're listening to this, if you've ever had or having thoughts of suicide, please talk to someone, tell someone. You can contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And if this is something you want to do, pause this, get a pen, and write this down. It's 1-800-273-8255.
Yes, exactly.
Let someone know you're suffering. Okay. Let us move on to the next question. This is from Instagram. This is Ryan H. What advice would you give to people that are scared of death?
That's a good question.
Some of these
Ryan.
get real deep.
This is my world. I'm just surprised they put it to your world. But it's hard because that's a good question, because I'm not a person that is, and so I have to think about. I want people to know. It isn't something to glorify. And I think that kind of goes in, context with what Michael just said about the suicide hotline and stuff. These aren't things to glorify, to understanding that realm. You don't want to make it all, like, okay, this is a good. But I feel like what I think would help is understanding that this is just one aspect of living. And if you look at it like this is the physical aspect of living, and there's other aspects of living, and that this isn't the end. I know it's kind of, look at it like when you go on a great adventure, you go away to college, or you start building your life and you're away somewhere and you're having this amazing experience, if you know that there's going to be another section of experience in your life, like things are always changing, things are always moving forward.
Yeah.
So I feel like if people look at it more that way, but of course change is hard.
Of course.
Yeah.
You have to look at it naturally. And when I went to New Orleans and I was studying voodoo, you learn about all these spirits of death. Death is a huge part of voodoo because it's honoring your ancestors and those who came before you.
Our last podcast.
Our last podcast. And the woman who taught me voodoo, she says, it's the secret of death that no one wants to learn. And there's the secret of life that no one wants to learn. And there was something about that it's if you look at Egyptian culture, if you look at other things, I think it is a natural aspect of it's all about how we cycle through. So obviously everyone doesn't need to fear death, but we all fear of stopping.
Change is part of,
but it's all part of that change, is all part of that process. I used to be very, very scared of death, and then when you look at mythology, not that you need to, obviously you don't want to glorify death, but I do think that there is an aspect to it that is necessary.
And then that little boy grew up, and he went shopping, and he found a black shirt with skulls all over, and he said, "This really speaks to me now."
Yes, I think but that's the that's what's funny, because I never has been afraid of death. I've always been aware of other people that I didn't want around me, but
I think I worked through that fear.
I think that's where you're grounded, because he very loves this world, and I came here going like, what's up. And so I feel like it's the balance. So I think that if you look at death and you go, I'm living this life and I'm being in this world, and I'm going to look at the other world and create a balance. But it is a personal journey.
Wow.
For sure.
Yeah.
This might be a question for Dylan, but I'm sure, Adela, you might have some insight on this as well. To Wedding Town says, what details do you need to sense whether someone has had a hex or something done?
That is all Dylan.
Oh. I get that all the time, and
All
I'll
the
have people be like, "Can you do a
Am I
cleansing?"
cursed?
Am I cursed? So first and foremost, first and foremost, everyone has to take. I fully believe that you have to take control of your own life and acknowledge things that you've done. But really, it's if you feel lethargic, if you feel that you're doing everything at your best.
Wait, it's a thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I just
people
wanted
can get
to know.
cursed.
Yeah.
People get cursed.
Who's doing this cursing?
Yeah, we
so,
wanna know.
So first and foremost, it's not always everyone's like, someone was doing witchcraft. It's not true, because do you know that just like we were talking about frequencies and energy, hate, unfortunately, sometimes triumphs good in the sense of energetic blast. So that person that you cut off, if they scream like "fuck you" and they have that sense of hate,
A hex upon you.
yeah,
No, you can say fuck.
Pox upon your house.
pox upon your house. Yeah, that energy
We'll start yelling that in traffic.
is on you. And if you do not take into effect to remove that or counter that in some way, whether it be a spiritual cleansing or whether it just be acknowledging that you're going to get better or deflecting it, you are receptive to that energy. So that curse,
So it's not the traditional
quote,
way
unquote,
people think.
It's
like,
not the traditional
in
like
Thinner,
in
like the
in the
movie
woods,
Thinner.
in the woods, getting
Drag
the doll
me to hell.
Right.
Yeah, it's not that, but I really do feel that a lot of it is, does someone really hate you? And if they wake up every morning and they're sending that rage towards you, you can be receptive to that, and that will impact your life.
How do you
Makes
guard
sense.
yourself
you
against
know? So I think there are many ways. Florida water.
that? This is a real
wonderful-
commercial for Florida water.
I know, Jesus.
pushing the
Do you
Florida
have
water.
So many
stock in
uses.
We're
Florida
not
sell it.
water?
We sell it at the Mystic Museum.
Oh boy.
No.
Oh, boy.
But that's where, when you get witchy, salt, salt absorbs energy,
Do I just
and salt,
Dunk
yeah.
a bucket of salt on my
Hell
head?
yeah.
Or just sprinkle
You put
it?
you can sprinkle it. You can sprinkle it around you. You can put it in one of those little spray
And
bottles
it's
that you get
also
at
like
Sally's.
being conscious,
but also being
conscious
conscious
of that. There is
of
energy
what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, how do you undo a curse? Think of the person that you might have harmed, or think of the person that you might have affected, and maybe apologize to that person.
Yeah.
Or maybe try to make amends. Because I think a lot of it is like, oh, this person cursed me. But I really feel that it's taking on that responsibility.
Couldn't you do that to yourself, though?
Oh, you could do that too. You could have that sense of forgiveness and strength to continue on, taking a nice bath and meditating and being like, I'm going to do better, or whatever I did, I make amends for, and I'm going to take that next step.
I like to take my mistakes and all my shame and just keep wearing it like layers and layers of soiled underwear
No, you
and
gotta
walk
scr-
around in
you gotta
life
scrub it
until I
off.
can't physically move my legs anymore. That's how I live. Okay.
There we go.
What about those people? This is from Ye220. What about this? Is like this guy sounds like, or he or she sounds like a droid. What about those people who were evil or filled with hate when they were alive, like Hitler? Is their spirit
yeah.
the same after death in the next realm of existence?
This is a question I get a lot, and actually, I know this sounds strange, but I've talked to that realm like many, many, many times because it's a valid thing. It's not like people are just okay, you died and it's nothing but love, and I hope you grow. It's one of those things that if people like are in that space, and they are really in that space and they pass, a lot of times they stay in that space.
Yeah.
Because it's like creating your own hell.
Yeah.
And so can those people grow? This is the hard part. I think that's hard for everyone to kind of want to be even thinking about. Like, it's not like everything's washed over. That person would have, remember I said you have to face everything, and it's almost like standing on a stadium and all of those things come at you, all of those energies. Can you imagine being that person? You have to face and feel, and some of them do not want to.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'm just going to stay in this dark space.
Sounds like hell to me.
Sounds like
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, here's a real softball for you.
Okay.
This
good.
is from Spooky Moon Witch.
Spooky Moon Witch.
What is the meaning of life?
Oh,
Oh God.
let's see. In 10 seconds, Dylan.
Yeah.
Would you like to? Yes, 10 seconds.
The meaning of life.
Go.
The meaning of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
says,
"Gosh,
I think Adela started covering this in another episode.
The
but
meaning
then
of life?
Yeah, I
you
did-
covered that."
I have. answer this question, and I would not that I said I knew the meaning of life. Don't look at me like that. I didn't. No, I just said that I think that's obviously a huge question, but I feel that we're here because we talked about it on this podcast. We're here because we come from this other place where you're not physically bound by the earthly realm, and we're here to come in this space that we are limited. Mm-hmm. It's easy to let's put it this way. It's easier to understand and have all this love and understanding in your heart on the mountaintop, but it's very hard amongst chaos and pain. So the challenge is, can we still hold on to something and rise above it through that? That's a short nail.
I think that works.
Yeah.
I like it.
She's got 2 questions.
What?
Follow up.
Spooky.
I love that these are the 2. 1, big. 2, my altar is on my dresser with a mirror, not in my bedroom. Is that okay?
Dylan.
Wait, it's
on my
in her-
dresser with a mirror.
Yes.
Like a vanity table, I'm assuming.
In her bedroom.
Not in my bedroom.
Oh, good.
Is that okay?
Yes, we do not want the altar in the bedroom.
Yes.
We do not want the altar
Why
in
is
the
that?
bedroom because you're constant with
Too
that
much.
energy. It's
Yeah.
too much.
Okay.
It's
Talk
too
about
much.
not sleeping.
But is
So,
the
yeah.
mirror amplifying
I
the
would
energy?
say,
Yeah, I
I would
used
say
to
it
have
does.
the altar
Yeah,
with
I
the
had
mirror.
I have a
Is
mirror
that
on my
okay?
altar. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it's that
Portals.
the mirror represents that portal to
Yeah.
the other realm. So yeah, she's doing it exactly right. you know?
Okay, I feel like we have an obvious answer sitting right in front of us. Bunny Hug wants to know, how do you find a good psychic tarot reader online or in person? What should you expect? How do you avoid attracting bad energy in general, attracting positive? I mean, listen, we got 2. I'm going to answer this question. There's 2 sitting right here in front of me. Follow the links that I have in the show notes. You should find...
And we did a podcast about how to
how to do fake ones.
and the tricks people do. So
Okay, we're gonna send you the reference
yeah,
material.
there you
Go
go.
check 'em
There
out.
you go.
Took care of that one for
Yeah,
you.
that one's
Bing, bada,
real
boom.
easy.
Boom.
Peachmilk.t says, are there signs or something equivalent that a person is more naturally inclined in developing psychic skills or at developing psychic skills?
Well, I'm going to say mine in a quick, and then I'll let you. But I say to people, everyone can learn to play the piano, but not everyone's going to be Riley, right?
Oh,
Not
that's
everyone's
sweet.
going to be a professional musician. So I kind of feel like I believe in, we do teach, and I believe you can enhance, but not everyone's going to want to take on a life, has the ability or even take on, because it's a way of life. This isn't just something we do.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's there's that professional aspect and then there's doing it. So I do think that everyone has the gift that is intuition. I think it's honing it. But then I think there's that taking on I don't know. There are moments where I'm like, maybe I should be getting up at 6 a.m. and going to auditions for theater instead of taking this next client.
What should I always joke about?
Adela's like, I'm just going to work at Target.
And collect paychecks.
There you go.
Because we do this professionally, but
Yeah.
oh my God, that
Oh, the
doggy.
sweetest boy in the
Looks
world
like a
came
wolf.
to
Wolf
visit us.
appears.
He looks like a wolf.
He does, doesn't
Mr.
he?
Nova.
Love.
He's my
On
best
cue.
friend.
This is speaking of on cue. Jody Bat asks, "Do wild animals transition like some believe dogs and cats do? People people seeing their cats or dogs ghost or feeling their presence. I'd like to think an opossum or squirrel that was roadkill wouldn't be trapped in that form and remember that trauma. Do they move on? And if so, are there trillions of wild creatures just swirling around us?
Yes.
I think mammals are the focus of my question because to ponder cold-blooded animals, snakes, frogs, fish, or insects
The synchronicities are out
are
of
a
control
different
today.
answer. And I don't know if they are. I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't
As
agree
would
with that.
be animals raised for food like cows and pigs. No, I don't agree with that at all.
There's no hierarchy in the animal
There's no
realm.
hierarchy, period, in that realm.
Yeah.
But yes,
I
animals.
saw the first 5 minutes of Lion King, and I know you guys are wrong about that. Isn't it weird that
the
those
remake, because
animals,
that was bad.
Yeah.
the animals bow to the guy that eats them all?
I know, yeah, it
That
is.
sounds like capitalism
I
to
know
me,
that's
man.
not an
Yeah.
original
I have a
thought, but-
lot of things I could say about Lion King.
Okay.
But I really feel like, okay, so Florida. I was back to Florida. We had a horrible hurricane, and there were lots of animals that perished and passed. And I remember like seeing them. Actually, I think animals are like. I see. It's so easy for me to see animal spirits as opposed to those of actual.
I get
people.
asked this so much. That's why I did a video on it. And animals. Here's the nutshell of it. They don't have any fear of death. They have no problem with death. They don't have any problem with the cycle of life because they can see that realm when like all the time. So they see that realm when they're alive. So just like people, they pass, but they are much easier. Like I can see them almost easier because they just don't have emotional, psychological hang-ups about things.
Right.
So yeah, animals are in a spirit realm just like people, but they
You best believe if Marie Laveau passes, I'm going to be going to Adela and be like, talk to her.
Well,
I'm not
I
talking
had
to your
this.
snake.
Let me say, she's like,
She's going to say, I'm a Labrador.
I know.
I already
Yeah.
told you that snake has to have a glass.
You know
Wall.
what? We'll write an email to Juliet, and we'll get you back in touch with that snake. I had like a total stoner moment a couple weeks ago, but it was really intense. And I have to say, I wasn't that high, but I was
You
cuddling with my bulldog, and we were like loving on each other, like forehead to forehead. And I was suddenly struck with this profound thought that I was like, oh, we're soulmates in the sense that whatever my spirit is, I started getting this idea
Download.
that whatever my spirit is has, in part of the process of coming here, fractures. And part of those fractures, those smaller shards of my spirit, are the pets that I have with me in my life. And it's not that I'm the dominant spirit
right.
and they're the lesser one. It's like if a ceramic cup breaks, it's just like, well, I'm the larger chunk of that cup. But the point is, we're all the cup.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that. And I just felt like I was like, oh, I get it. I mean, I was, again, stoner thought, but I was like, I get it. He's part of my. We share this.
collective conscious.
Yeah, the collective conscious.
We actually do share the same soul. I thought about it that way.
I totally believe
Absolutely.
that.
Animals see themselves as reflecting back to you what you need. So
Yeah.
they don't need us as much as we think they need us.
Listen,
Yeah.
it made a lot of sense to me at the time, and I cried and cried.
Yeah, we'll talk about telepathic. Like, I kind of feel like, and I mentioned, the first dog that I had, like growing up, my childhood dog, his name was Aladdin, an ad partner.
And I saw the other day in your
Oh my God, she saw my dog.
Really?
It was so weird. She's like, she was like, and she stops herself too. She's like, no, you don't have a dog.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah. And she's like, oh, he was like this big and he was like, tan brown. And I was like, that's a partner. But I always felt like we had this weird telepathic, like I didn't have to talk. I just knew,
Yeah.
We had this weird, so I think that, if you have an animal or animals in general, you can definitely, there's a sense of knowing.
They're part of the collective consciousness.
They're part of that.
Yeah.
believe it.
And if you take that and expand it out to all animals,
Well, that's what I'm saying. And then
beings
everybody.
it's
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
We're
that's
all
what I'm
part
trying
of
to.
the big
That's
cup.
right.
Yeah.
feeling and magnify it out
Absolutely.
to
Good
Good job,
everything
Michael.
everywhere.
You ready to
Look
take
at
the
that.
pill now?
Boom.
No, girl. Well, we'll talk. Maybe we'll see. All right, we have time for a couple more. If we don't get to your question, I'm so sorry. We'll save them. Dylan and Adela are going to be on the show again, but thank you guys for writing in. Let me see. Oh, Adela, thanks. Sally wants to know, what's your take on the Akashic realm? You've mentioned this before. You don't buy into it.
No, because to me,
First, explain what it is. This is like a Bryce thing.
It's like that. Yeah, it's like I think that was the mistake I made. I made a face, and I realized quickly he is into it.
Hey, you know what? You don't show up for the podcast. We're gonna dish your Akashic realm too.
Akashic burn.
Akashic burn, baby. You feel my Akashic burn?
Exactly. It's kind of the belief that there's like these records that hold everybody's soul of where they're going to go and where they're coming from. I just don't have that because I think that's kind of implying almost like a destiny or a fate.
Something written in stone.
And I don't believe in
Predetermination.
that. I don't believe in predetermination. I believe that we have a core of who we are. That is the core of who we are, but it's kind of taking away the responsibility that everything we're doing does create our future, every decision we're making. So it's kind of like, to me, and then I know people like study it for like 6 weeks and they get a certificate. And
Oh my God, it's crazy.
yeah, we don't want to get started
no,
on that.
but I really don't. I don't feel in a. I don't think there's a controlled sense of fate, so to speak. You know, I think that, and then the whole like when people are like the soul contracts, you know, and I was like, no, I have no contract with anyone.
It goes. So soul contracts go along with people usually kind of can be connected to Akashic.
Yeah.
It's this idea that everything's kind of arranged, and I
Preemptively
believe that we
arranged.
kind of have what Michael's saying before we come here. That cup is there, and we disperse, and then even the person at the grocery store may be the person that you knew in that realm. But so
Right. I think there are some things that can't you like. I think as a reader, like there are some things that are hard to fight. You know, that are like, oh, this is your path, you know, so to speak. But I don't think it's written in stone. A lot of misconceptions that in like palm reading too, everyone thinks like, tell me what's going to happen to me. But palm reading is actually the stress that you put in your hand.
Oh.
So when I'm reading your palm, I'm not reading your set path. I'm essentially reading the path that you've brought upon yourself.
because he says it changes. Right?
It changes. Yeah, the lines
cool.
of your hand change.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Thanks, Allie has a question for you, Mystic Dylan. What are your tips for a beginner to get into a proper mental state to be open to divination and be more open to messages? And I'd also like to tack on another one of our Instagram questions. Any tips for people who want to get into tarot?
Oh, yeah. So first and foremost, I think there are a lot of misconceptions about tarot. Like people are like, oh, it has to be gifted to you and you have to be in this mindset and you have to do that. And I really don't like you have to just learn the cards. If you memorize the cards and the keywords, like, so the beginning steps would be find a tarot deck that the illustrations speak to you, you know, find the art that you like and a good tarot deck, because a lot of people will get the Rider-Waite or they'll get the first deck that's recommended to them as opposed to one that they connect with. And if you don't connect with the art, you won't connect with the cards. So definitely do that. And it's really learning once you learn the keywords and you kind of memorize the keywords like flashcards, everything else will kind of open up for you. And in terms of getting in the mindset for a reading or anything to do, I mean, I take those first few minutes for yourself. And I kind of like take a deep breath and like before I just jump into a reading. You can cleanse the space, you can do lots of things, but it's really just finding that. I think divination, when you're using tools, a lot of people think that they have to get super spiritual and super woo and be woke and open to this. And I really think if you learn the tool and you learn the history of the tool and why you're using the tool, because I can't tell you how many tarot card readers I've met where it's like, oh, I do tarot. And I was like, wow, let's talk about the history of tarot. And they're like, it comes from Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, oh, girl. So I think it's like learn the tool, learn the history of the tool, try to connect.
I love that.
Yeah.
This is from Twitter. We have two more.
Ooh, tweets.
Keep them coming.
What are your opinions, both of you, on the nature of individuals such as Indrid Cold? So we're talking about entities or strange people. Indrid Cold is kind of a Men in Black type figure that stepped out of UFO, said he was from a different world, and sort of he was called the Grinning Man. He had like
Oh, you did that. You did an episode on that.
He did.
Yeah.
He had a wide smile. He wore like a weird green jumpsuit. Some people think that he's an extra dimensional entity and not like or extra dimensional entity, not extraterrestrial. I don't know. There are these strange cryptids and creatures that pop up that seem to have sort of a trickster thing about them.
Yeah, I believe in interdimensional beings for sure, and I do believe that there are trickster ones. And when I heard that one you guys covered, it felt very trickstery, like everything about it. So it felt very trickstery. And what that means is, for people to understand, is that it's kind of similar to that girl who saw this tall being that bent down, the story you told. It's kind of sometimes to kind of give you a little peek that this world does exist, but I'm not going to really tell you everything. There's a thing called unmasking, and it's one thing that I was taught from that realm, where you have to learn to unmask these tricksters. And as you unmask them, the power gets less. And even the smiling, grinning thing is, and the way his energy was described, it's almost like challenging you, like, can you figure me out? Can you unmask me? Can you really see me? Because it's not really what you think it is.
And what are the difference between entities like that and the Watchers, which another one of our listeners had said, tell us more about the Watchers.
Well, the Watchers, I've got funny enough, on my YouTube channel,
people are into the Watchers.
The interdimensional video has the most hits, less comments, which tells me people are more afraid to admit, but they want to watch. And I got a lot of please do a video on the Watchers. I was like,
it was a big episode for us too. People really, really liked that.
They liked the Watchers. The Watchers are purely nothing. Don't even put them in the same category as a trickster. These are ancient beings that will not interconnect with you in that kind of way. They will make their presence known when they choose to a certain degree, but they're not going to comfort you. They're not going to be all warm and fuzzy. And I heard you talked about it. What you talked about is exactly how I've experienced it. It's a knowing. It's a presence that it didn't feel warm and fuzzy.
Not at all, yeah.
But you're in something that's like crazy, like you can't it's not talking.
Riley, can I clue my listener? Do you want to clue?
Yeah, sure. No, you go ahead.
Riley told a story of a DMT trip that he took years and years ago.
Eric Edelstein's video?
Yeah, that's right. That was on
podcast?
Eric's episode, which was a really fun episode.
Yeah, so if you want to hear about that, check that out. But yeah, when you brought up the Watchers the other day, it was the only time I'd ever heard something described that sounded like what I experienced from that, where it was that presence that's like not. It wasn't sinister either, though, but it was just not comforting.
It's like the very serious, when the head of the school, the head of the school walks in and just stands there. Yeah, and they're there to make sure that not only all these other beings, interdimensional beings, us, are not crossing major lines. They're not there to do the little lines. Like Archangel Michael and all those type of, which Archangel Michael has different names and stuff, but those energies are more closer. They're there to make sure that way other things aren't being crossed, but they do want to be known that there is a presence there. It's an overseer, but they do not interfere, and they're not there to be your friend. They're not there to hold your hand. No.
Yeah. And actually every culture, there's always that story of the trickster and there's always that story of the Watcher. So it's like
Loki. And
look at that.
And Uatu,
Boom.
the Watcher, Marvel Comics.
Yeah, look at that. So just from that, you have those stories of these beings, So it's very interesting. I definitely it all comes together,
I used to see it's intense.
You used to see what?
I mean,
don't trail off with
well,
that.
And we're out of time.
I mean, the seances I used to do, I used to see them, and that's when I would know, people would feel something. It's a whole different thing, and it might have even been crossing the line too long. They're there to make sure you're not fully going to cross the line. I used to have dreams since I was little, I'd have dreams of flying. And I would go over the water, and every time I would try to go over the water, I'd hear something. They're always tall. I think those may not even been the Watchers per se, but there is something. I would fall into the water, and I would hear, "You're going too far." So that was me playing. I've tried to do that for a long time. I would always try to make over the water, but then there was something that came on when I started professionally doing this and working with that realm, where those came in and said, well, you thought you were dealing with the protectors, but we're going to now make sure you're not doing other things. They are there to introduce you to the other interdimensional beings. They're there to make sure that they don't do things to you. They're there to make sure you're not going too far. You're not abusing power. They're very big on don't abuse power.
What's interesting, I had an experience where last year I took on, so I do spell work and ritual stuff for clients. And I did one for a client, and she asked, like, she wanted something that at first I was like, this is a little, I was like, I don't know. There are like boundaries or whatever. And I was like, you know what? And she Venmo'd me, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm ready. And my candle would break.
Wow.
I was out, like, my herbs, and I just remember there was this overarching gut feeling of like, and I didn't feel alone. And I was like, this isn't right. And so when you were talking about boundaries, I even think on a whether, I think on a magical realm too, I think there is this boundary of like, I'm crossing a line.
And those are like what I think of Saint Michael and deities, but the Watchers are above those.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't interfere with spell work. They interfere with even the people who are creating the boundaries, making sure they're not abusing their power.
I actually ended up refunding her, not taking her service, because I was like, this is not, like, just trying that, trying that, and knowing that I couldn't complete what I had to. And then I started to think of, like, I had a dream, like, the night of like, all these effects and things that happened. And I was just like,
but I just realized, but one of the ways, so this is what's kind of interesting, because he's a witch, and one of the ways I kind of really understood what I was seeing was through a high priestess witch. Was one night I was sleeping, and I was maybe going to be in this coven, and they deal with the Watchers, and I didn't know, really. And I was sleeping, and I heard a very loud, like, deep voice, like, I can't even explain the most powerful voice I've ever heard, and said, "Come with us." And it wasn't a spirit. It was not nicety nice. It was the most powerful pull and voice I've ever heard. And I popped up, and I freaked out, and I like did my, like, hey, Michael, I don't know what's going on. And then I heard, like, "Oh, sorry," and it pulled back. And so I called this high priestess, and she's like, "Yeah, that's the Watchers. They think you know them already because you're so advanced in your gifts that they just thought you're ready for this." And I look on my wall, and there was like a triangle, like, just appeared. And because she's like, yeah, because she's like an older lady. She's like, yeah, it'll be fine. Like, so I call her back, and I'm like, why is there a triangle? She goes, yeah, I trapped it. I thought when I thought it was a spirit, I was creating the trap, because triangle represents trapping a spirit. And I physically saw it. And she goes, but it's the Watchers.
Was it 3-dimensional, or was it
It was it's like someone drew it on my wall.
What? It was it glowing?
It was just like a drawing. Just seriously, like if someone took a pen and drew it. And I was like...
I was picturing glowing, too.
Yeah, it wasn't glowing. It wasn't as glamorous as that. It was enough, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough.
And she's like, old... this is her old hat to her. So she's like, yeah, I did that when I thought it was a spirit, but it's the Watchers. You're not, just tell them you're not ready. So that did happen. So I did do my own thing of introducing, like, when I was ready. And that's when I started knowing their presence more.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
So that was like, but it was definitely one of those things that, like, I didn't really tell a lot of people, obviously. And she knew what I was talking about. And she kind of basically was like, that's what they do. That's what I meant by their job, is to go, so you're in this realm, you're dealing with all these other beings that protect this realm, like Michael and this and all these people. We're here to make sure who you are and who you're dealing with, and you guys, and you're not crossing lines, and they're not. I'm
a little mad at them, though, because, see, I had this idea that when we started this podcast, Adela was going to talk to Cleopatra, find out where her tomb was. We were going to be multimillionaires, and we were going to have this show where it's like uncovering tombs or uncovering things.
You got to start
it's against the rules,
looking under the pod, the Sphinx, and finish Edgar Casey's work.
And that is where the Watchers.
But that's where the Watchers come in.
Like, you can't abuse it. You can't abuse it. They would not allow it.
It's like when I was a kid and I was reading Green Lantern. And I was like, if I had Green Lantern's ring, I would just make a naked woman. And I was like, I think Ganthet and the Guardians wouldn't let that.
That's
That's
right.
abusing
Michael.
the ring.
That's right. And people don't understand that when people are like, "Oh, didn't you want to win the lottery?" I'm like, yeah, of course, but I've already been told you can't use things for certain ways.
Yeah, the Watchers
Boy.
won't let us.
All right, one last question. We'll wrap it up. Oh boy, I didn't see who wrote this down. Let me double check. Here
This
comes
is
my
the song
singing.
where
It's
Michael's
back now.
stalling and singing.
Single.
Stalling and singing.
Where
It's the
were
singing,
you?
stalling
Where
song.
were you? Where did you go? Okay, well, I'm sorry I didn't write down your name, but guess what? I'm going to ask for your question. I'm going to ask your question. This is from Instagram. How can we raise our vibrations enough to start reaching the other dimension? And what works best when manifesting intentions, spells, and mediation?
Ooh.
Raising vibrations. Can I just say I did a video on it? No.
Yeah.
Okay, I did a video on it on my YouTube channel, how to raise your vibrations, how to open your tissue. But actually, what I really said in a nutshell was everybody has to kind of find their way that pulls them up. And it really is actually not what people think. It's like when you space out, like some people like to do it when they're driving. I like to use music. Like, I wish I could have been born to be Riley, but the universe said you would have been a asshole rock star.
And
probably.
dance.
And
Dance
dance,
and movement.
yeah, and dance, and so dance and music, but that doesn't mean that's the way you have to do it. So some people, it could be gardening, it could be washing the dishes. Seriously, it could be things where you just kind of space out when you feel yourself pulling, and like imagine when you're a kid and you just kind of get lost, and that's how you open and raise your frequency. It's allowing yourself to kind of drift out. And everybody has a different way they do it. Some people have to run and they like the adrenaline. Some people just want complete peace, quiet nature. So you got to kind of start with remembering who you are and what gets you there.
Find your jam.
Yeah, and for spell work, in terms of manifestation, I've learned on firsthand. You have to be really specific about what you want.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the universe will listen, but there's that trickster energy,
Well, that's
or there
the
are those
classic,
other
be careful
things.
what you wish for kind of thing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Be specific.
Yes, you have to be really. And if you think you're too specific, you're not being specific enough.
Just like when you're making choices in scene work as an actor.
That's
you gotta
right.
make specific choices. What drives your character? What do they want? What are their expectations? What are their obstacles?
You're really good.
Well, you're being a conduit when you're
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
You're creating, you're mirroring back society.
I think, I've definitely had, I'm sure you've had this as well, Riley, and I know you guys have, but like, there was definitely like moments, and they're fleeting, where you were like, I remember one time specifically, I was doing a scene from Shakespeare, and there was like a moment where like, I got out of the way, the text just started doing it. I'd done all the homework,
Yeah.
and then I just got like, I felt like there was something bigger than me, just I was channeling through, and I suddenly was like, oh, I understand everything that's happening. I get it. It's like one of those, oh, fuck, I get it moments.
Yeah.
And you're like really in the moment with that. And then almost as soon as you're like, oh, I'm doing it,
then you're done.
out. You're
Yeah.
That's
done.
right.
That's the whole goal, though,
absolutely.
Yeah,
right?
it
That's,
is.
It's the
that's
zone.
the payoff.
It's
Yeah.
that zone.
it's the
and
trance.
True.
It's
The
tougher.
trance.
I've had it more when doing theater stuff than because
TV, yeah.
film and TV is so stop and start.
Right.
I'm
You
learning.
can't go in the flow.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
learning more and more as the more I do it, like how to get in that moment and get in that access that zone. But it's tough. But that's what it reminds me.
Right.
Absolutely.
A little
Also,
bit.
what reminded me when you're talking about be specific, like I noticed when we're working on our record, even when I'm producing and someone's doing a part, it's like, no, you like pick exactly your notes. Like that needs more intentionality. If it's sort of just these couple meandery notes, it's like, no, that's not working. Like it has to be like choose your notes and just those notes and nothing else. And that always works the best
It's
in
true.
music. You got to really have the intention behind what you're playing.
That's why this is called the craft in everything, whether it be acting or music or what we do. It's a craft because you have to hone it. And I think that
Yes.
so many people
Honing
take.
it is key. Like this is
Oh
a
my-
life thing. This is our life.
And I think
Like,
us meeting each other, I think we force each other to hone it more,
Yeah.
so to speak, because we're kind of like constantly like doing better through talking it out.
And you're always grounding, which I have a hard time with. But yeah, I think, and I'm trying to push him to that realm. But
Yeah.
I think honing. I think when anybody say that, you can't just wake up and say, "I'm going to do this."
No.
It's tough. That's when you got to
Yeah.
get ego out of the way.
You got to get
Which
ego
is
out of the
hard.
way.
Absolutely.
Because we've done that. I mean, bands are that way. Acting true. I mean, even doing this podcast, we're
Podcasts are
constantly
bands,
like
basically.
checking in with
Yeah.
each other and be like, "Hey, let's try this. Let's not do this anymore, or whatever." But it's and it can be tough sometimes.
Yeah, that's the human side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too is I think you end up, by being in the craft, you end up being a slave to the craft. So you are constantly working or pulling that plow, so to speak. So like for us, like Adela is not like, well, she's super humble and awesome, but she's not cashing in on like, Psh, I'm a medium. No, it's a lot of work, and she has to keep in check and balance with the spirit realm and the people. So she's doing double duty.
Thanks, Dylan.
You know,
and Dylan's
and
actually
in the realm of
Can
spell work.
we just tell each other how great we
Yeah,
are?
let's
Yeah, a
let's
bunch
end
of
on
No,
best
no.
friends figuring out live,
But
complimenting each
this
other.
is kind of what we do have in common, because he's very humble too. He can joke about it and stuff, but he's like he's the person that every time you go up to like anybody, we get a coffee, every single person he asks, how's their day going? How's your day going? And he's just I feel like that's a big part of it. It's that, just like what you do, Michael, what you do, Riley, we're just being conduits to reflect to each other, and we're all servicing each other. And I think that's kind of the number one thing I think we both want to express to people. If you're going to do something like this, you have to know it's not about you.
Great, love it.
Empathy.
Guys, thank you so much for coming back to the clubhouse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We would have
Having
you on
us.
every week if we could. Where can people find the Witch in the Medium?
You can find The Witch in the Medium on most podcasts, right?
Great.
Yes.
Platforms, iPod, and it's called iPod.
It's
now.
Apple Podcast.
Apple
now,
Pod.
yeah.
Apple Podcast.
Apple
Yeah.
Pod.
Wherever you get, wherever
Where
you
you
listen to
get.
this.
Yeah.
Unless you're on the Campfire website, then it'll pop up, right? I mean, anywhere, wherever you're listening to this, go search.
It's
Yeah.
on the internet.
It's on the internet.
You'll find it.
Online.
Instagram, Twitter.
Mystic Dylan Official, and then Adela Lavine.
I'm Adela Lavine. Well, he's mysticdylanofficial.com and Mystic Dylan Official on Instagram. I'm Adela Lavine on all social media. And I
What's
do
your
it-
website?
My website's AdelaLavine.com, and I
Great.
do YouTube. Blah, blah.
And you both can do reading stuff for people
Yes.
remotely.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this
Yes.
on the other side of the country, you can still work with these
Book a
two.
reading
Phone,
on
Skype.
Yeah,
it
we
works.
we do it
constantly.
I know people who've done it, and they have
Done
great
it.
reviews.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. That's another episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club. We have been to Salt Lake City by the time this comes out, I
We
think,
have
or
been,
we're
yeah.
just about to go. Let's take
The
a look.
future is uncertain,
Future is
you know?
uncertain. Nothing.
Let's take a look.
This
No
is the
fate is set
Akashic
in
Records
stone.
proving they don't exist. But anyway, yeah, we'll have already been there. So thanks for coming to the Salt Lake City
Thank you,
show
guys.
at Fan X.
We
If
had
you
a
were
great
there,
time.
we had a great
Oh,
time.
my Salt Lake
In the
peeps
future.
came to see you.
You may or may not have heard that yet, but we've already done it. So that's it for now. And check out our merch. Don't know where our merch store is right now. I think it's still in TeePublic. Maybe not. We'll find out.
Again, the future
Check
is uncertain.
the show notes. You'll find the links, and because you know what we have to do, we got to get one of those new shirts that we have. That's
Oh,
the
Snake Dog?
Yeah, Snake
Oh,
Dog.
yeah. Gotta get
Don't
Snake
forget
Dog.
about me. I'm an abomination of nature. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Until then, have a great night and go get regressed.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.